I'm going to get really vulnerable and really honest with you guys and share something that's a little bit embarrassing because I just have a feeling that so many other women in midlife and men too are feeling exactly like I'm feeling and going through what I'm going through right now. And maybe we can all commiserate together. I have never been more lonely in my entire life. I'm 51 years old. I do not work outside the home, so I don't get to go to an office every day and see people. My husband works and then does catering on the side, so he's gone a lot. I have one kid left at home for another 2 months before she goes off to college, and she works and is with friends 99% of the time. The other 1%, she's in her room. My other two kids don't live at home anymore, and I don't have any friends right now. That's embarrassing for me to admit. I had two really good friends, and over the last month, both of those friendships have just kind of disappeared, and I don't know why. One of the people lives out of town. The other one lives in town. They have both kind of ghosted me and my whole family recently. Not sure what's going on there. I'm really lonely. I live in the same town that I've lived in for 20 years. For the majority of that time, I had a very, very toxic and emotionally abusive friendship. And because of that, I did not have a lot of friends outside of that friend and her friend group. So when I was finally able to shut the door on that friendship and walk away from it, which is the best decision I ever made, it left me with no friends in a town that I've lived in for 20 years. You would think I would just have a ton of friends in this town, but I don't. And I feel like at this stage, everyone already has their group. And I know people are going to say like, oh, that's not true, blah, blah. It is true. I live in a small town. Like, I'm not going to be able to break into any of these friend groups. I already know that. So I'm lonely. And I never thought at 51 that I would feel this lonely. And I'm really hoping that I don't have to spend the rest of my life as lonely as I feel right now. I've never been a person who's had a ton of friends, but I have never wanted friends more than I do now. But not just like the shallow friendships. I want true, like, emotional connection friends. I do have two of my best friends from high school that are still in my life, but they don't live here. And so it's not the same. I don't have any friends here locally that I can see on a regular basis and go do stuff with. And with my husband gone a lot, I end up just being alone. And I do know that being alone and being lonely are two different things, and sometimes I love being alone. But lately I have found that for me, being alone means being lonely. And I'm lonely. Midlife for me is lonely. Can anybody relate? Let me know.
This is interesting. I think that a lot of women are so used to, depending on a man and living for a man that they kind of get stuck in a rut. Even if you're married, you kind of are living through this man vicariously. Even though you're married, you're together, cohabitating and all of the good things, but you're not actually developing anything for yourself. You're not developing your own character. You're not really building anything, legendary. You're not building anything that you can grow into. And in fact, your children and your family and your friends can grow into you with. You're just kind of coexisting. And I think that now that you're 50 years old and your kids haven't really received that from you and your friends and your environment, then you just end up growing apart and being more and more lonely. I think that that's what's happening. I think women should get married and they should be there for their family and do all these things, but they should also develop something, develop skills from hobbies, develop your hobbies into businesses or just traditional customs, right? Whatever that may be. It could be anything. Maybe you spend a certain part of the year, time of the year in another country with your friends and your family, whether they can afford it or you make yourself be in a position to afford it, right? So I just think that if you don't do that, but you take from your husband and you're there for your husband and you're committed, but you're not actually taking and, planting seeds, then when you reach this final chapter or the last chapters of your life, then you're going to reap nothing because you planted nothing.
So I'll admit, I'm a little lonely lately. I I don't know, I just am. I think I'm also like a little down or whatever. But I would love to meet somebody, but I don't feel like really putting forth the effort. I know that sounds bad. I went on dating, Facebook dating a little bit today, and oh my God, it's terrible. I don't know how I ever met so many people on there. Like, I met a lot of nice guys, and some, like, were not for me, and some remained friends, and some, like, I was with for a little bit, and I liked, and some quality men that I'm still friends with. But, oh my God, it's just a mess. Like, my skits are not a lie. They're not at all. But I'll admit, I'm kind of lonely. But I don't really feel like making the effort of going to sit at like a high-end bar restaurant, not like a bar. Like, I'm not talking about like a random bar, but like a nice like restaurant, like, I don't know, Ruth's Chris or STK at Disney Springs or something like nice, and sit there and just have a drink or dinner or whatever, and possibly I'll meet somebody that way. I just don't really feel like doing that. So I need like the Kool-Aid man in the form of like a great guy to either come through my front door, or I don't know. I'm not sure I'm going to meet someone. Or, and this is going to sound weird, I kind of want to just be with someone I was with before, like, and just hang out and have a good time and do things together or whatever. I don't really feel like meeting somebody new either, unless they're going to be really great for me. I don't know. I haven't dated since like end of July last year. I just was having like a few bad dates, one after the other, just not clicking, not like bad dates, just like I didn't feel any chemistry or whatever. So I don't know. I'm just not, I'm a little lonely, but I kind of just want someone I've been with before and kind of just someone to do things with, but that I am attracted to. Is that asking too much?
Absolutely, it's asking too much. Women like her are used to having it her way or their way, so to speak. When you were in your 20s, ma'am, that was a high and very mighty place to be. But the truth of the matter is, you didn't develop the core characteristic attributes that would allow you to develop into a wife, develop into a successful woman who has a family, who is thriving, right? So now what you've done is you've just monkey branched from dick to dick. And now you find yourself in your 50s, mid 50s, and you're too damn lazy to get out there and meet a man that could be good for you. And let's not forget to mention, he has to be a perfect man for you. Your standards are still the same as they were when you were in your 20s. But the reality is 50 mid years old now. That's why you don't feel the enjoyment. That's why you can't really actually quite be bothered to get out there and meet a new guy. You rather have an old fling, and you don't really want an old fling because you know damn well you don't really want that relationship unless he's one of the ones that rejected you, right? Then you'll take that, and then you just want a man to just be in some sort of servitude to you. And he just takes you out and you just have a good time. Who the hell wants to do anything like that? That's crazy. You see, men are more driven towards legacy, purpose, right? We don't want to just vainly do things, vaguely have random sex with women in your 50s as an older man. No, men don't typically want to do that. Men want to do that when they're younger. When we're in our 20s, teenage years, 30s maybe, yeah, sure. But as we get older, we grow into ourselves because we know that life is not forever. We understand that we're going to leave everything here behind us. So what do we want to leave? Do we want to leave things that we can be proud of? Or do we just want to be some sort of empty shell that lives for pleasure and dies for nothing?
I'm 50 and I'm lonely. I went to dinner the other night with a group of friends, and while we had a really wonderful time, the whole time we were there, I felt like I was almost kind of floating above, watching it all happen and wondering, does anyone actually really see me? And this is not on the women that I was with. They are wonderful. This is just something I've been noticing about myself, that I'm probably lonely more often than I should be. One of my kids is doing an internship in Spain this summer. The other just graduated. He's working and spending all this time with his friends, so he's hardly ever at home, which is great. That's how it's supposed to go, but they just don't need me like they used to. I feel like at this stage in life too, all kinds of connections that I had like through the kids' schools and things like that, some of those are dying out. And it's not that I'm just sitting alone in a dark room or alone in my car like I am right now. It's that you just kind of feel invisible. It's like you hold it all together, you do all of the things, and you do wonder, does anyone really see me? Does anyone know me, get me? I find myself thinking all the time, like, who am I when I'm not needed in the same way? And honestly, I have no clue. I'm 50 and I really want to figure that out. But I wanted to at least start this conversation because if I'm lonely, I'm sure somebody else out there is lonely. And I think we're just not talking about it enough. And I really wish that we could start this conversation and maybe it would help us feel less lonely just to be validated in it. So this is part one. I'm going to come back and talk a little bit more about this, but let me know in the comments if you're in this same season. If any of this resonated with you, I'd love for you to follow along. Maybe we can figure out this whole late 40s, early 50s things together. See y'all next time. Bye.
This to me is happening more and more frequently from what I'm seeing now is that there are a lot of women that are just really lonely. They did the wife thing, they did the mothering, they mothered their children, and their children reaped those benefits. Their children are out there thriving. Well done. That is very good. Problem is, now you're in your midlife, right? 50s, and you don't know what to do with yourself. I think that there's some sort of lack when you get to a point where you're 50 something and you are alone or essentially you are lonely. There's something lacking because I know plenty people who are in their like 40s to 50s and they're thriving. They're going on vacations, they're going on trips, they're spending time with their husbands, doing these things. They have family functions throughout the year. They have a business. They have hobbies. They have times where they spend with their friends and their friends' families. So I don't understand why is it that these women are lonely. I think that you're a type of women that never developed anything. You just wanted to ride your husband's coattail. And I get it, a lot of these women's husbands are doing well in life, right? It's obvious we understand this. So why would you want to go out there and be an independent woman when you have a husband and you're a traditional wife? Why would you want to do that? But why not? Why not go out there with your ring on and develop the things that you like? It doesn't mean you have to go out there and make a competitive wage. It doesn't mean that, you have to take away from your family. It just means that in between the spaces, you're developing things. You're developing things you enjoy. You're developing a space for yourself and your friends and your family, your children. Whoever you have a connection or relationship with, you're creating a space for them where you can invite them. Why not? And I just think that a lot of these women, what they do is they take from their husbands, as they should, right? But it stays there. They don't take and plant, take and plant. They take and they plant into their children, as they should. But you're limiting yourself if you don't plant all over the garden. If you plant in one corner or two corners, then that is what you're going to reap. So I just think that a lot of women are like this. A lot of women will depend on their husband, and they want to dress or live a life at a certain standard, so they spend that money doing all these things, keeping up appearances, and when the time goes, then you start to realize, well, I'm kind of lonely because I didn't do this. I didn't develop that, and I bought a lot of things that I enjoyed. The relationships that I worked on were quite rich because of the investments I made for those standards to be fulfilled. But you left open blank spaces where you are actually now lonely. So that's the video. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Please support the channel by just clicking the like. It truly does help me grow. Also, drop me a comment. Don't be shy. Let me know, what do you think about my videos? What do you think about this particular video? And also, don't forget to subscribe. I would greatly appreciate that as well. Thank you. Until next time.